I consider myself a real huge fan of Devil May Cry. I've played and beaten all 6 games multiple times and have even seen the anime from 2007. I also consider myself at least somewhat knowledgeable on the overall themes of Devil May Cry, the message of humanity's potential stemming from their natural ability to feel compassion and empathy towards each other, to make it short. At first I was optimistic about the announcement of the upcoming adaptation that came this year on Netflix. However, through the osmosis of a friend, I had learned about the director Adi Shankar's previous works, Castlevania and Castlevania Nocturne. On top of being generally pretty terrible, they were also unfaithful in service of Adi Shankar's thinly veiled hatred of Christianity, blatantly changing important elements and story pieces to suit a narrative that was less positive towards Christianity. Some examples include making the church maliciously incompetent after killing Dracula's lover, Lisa, and he warns them all they have a year to scram. The church calls him a liar and they don't leave, and then Dracula begins a massacre. His motives now being recontextualized to directly being the fault of the church. Lisa is killed for witchcraft in the game universe, but the culprit is left ambiguous. Considering the church is willing to work with witches in the game universe, you can rule out that it was the church, but that's no longer the case in the show. The church are made the unambiguous killers of Lisa, and thus the creator of the monster known as Dracula. There's also this.
You see, vampires are basically an evolved predator species, so their eyesight is pretty different to ours. Turns out that if you put a big geometric shape right up close in their field of vision, it confuses the shit out of their brains and, makes them panic.
And then this. This is not a religious video, nor do I consider myself religious, but I did get the growing feeling that Shankar's biased and unfair treatment of the source material was a sick form of foreshadowing. And wouldn't you believe it, my worst fears came true, and I discovered that Shankar had horribly misrepresented the characters and themes of Devil May Cry in an adaptation that was a laughingstock for most anyone with an attachment to Devil May Cry. Demons were now sympathetic and victimized, which completely ruined Sparta and his legacy as a character and defeated some of the core themes of the series.
We risked everything to hide you. Now you turn your gun on us? On our kids? You think we're with them?
She's a sapien. Of course she thinks all demons are the same.
Characters feel like they're all written by the same cringy edgelord who thinks he's cool if he drops enough F-bombs.
Years ago when our world was still connected to their shithole.
Songs are taken from the game and dropped into the show in completely unfitting context with some of the worst renditions possible. Whatever, this isn't a review. Netflix May Cry was terrible. There's a metric shitload of other problems with the show, and it's blatantly clear from some of his commentary on Devil May Cry that Shankar is a tourist fan of the franchise at best. But another thing that was starting to become obvious the more I watched him get into battles on social media, that he's dishonest. He makes tweets that sound like the most retarded thing I've ever heard and more like a grab for attention taking the form of it. Look at the way this man speaks of BlazBlue character Ragna and how he speaks ill of him while also fetishizing the idea of changing the character to befit his tastes, not to befit what a BlazBlue fan would want. Then having the nerve to make tweets like these where he berates writers who don't adapt faithfully. He even talks ill of DMC5 for stealing the spotlight of his adaptation of Devil May Cry. It's not stupidity, it's intellectual dishonesty. He hates what you love, and he's manipulating you to give him attention. The more attention you give him, good or bad, the more you keep him relevant. And the more you keep him relevant, the more chances go up of him getting his grubby hands on another franchise you love. He knows he angers people, just look at his bio. I'd say at best, keep an eye on him silently, but stop giving him what he wants, and that's public outrage. Keeping Shankar relevant is how we get more of his trash, and I don't want that. Anyway, normal content resuming soon. That's all I wanted to say. My name is Dom. I'll see you later.